Okay, we're back. We're talking about the last piece in the problem-solving process, okay? Innovation. We just talked about compromise, how that's part of the problem-solving step. But there's also innovation. Now, we're all familiar with the term innovation, right? We think about tech companies probably creating new devices, new technology, new methods of healing people or self-driving cars or something like that. World-changing
AI
discoveries, right? AI, something like that. But we're going to take a step back from that a little bit and approach innovation a little more broadly. Doesn't have to be quite as fine a point on it.
It could be pretty simple. We'll go back to the belt analogy.
Yeah.
So in one scenario, last video, compromise, went without the belt, held the pants up with my hand.
Right.
That's a definite compromise.
Yeah.
Broke a belt a few months ago, went down, maybe I've gained a couple of pounds.
I don't know.
Could be just a wimpy belt. Went down the basement, actually got a cord, fashioned it and essentially threaded my belt back together where it had busted, made some holes with a tool, tied it up, and I had to go do a training, so I needed the belt. So I made it look as though the belt was fine, and that was an innovation.
That's an innovation. See, so it's not to take away from your work. I don't know if that's a game-changing innovation.
No, probably not.
But it's an innovation nonetheless. Why is it an innovation? Because he created something new. He developed something. He discovered something. He brought something new to the situation in order to solve the problem, which was, well, I'll use this other item, the cord. I'll put some new holes in the belt, and I'll stitch it together that way. So that's the newness that he brought to that situation in order to solve that problem. And pretty much every problem out there is going to require this to some level. And again, I just really want to emphasize this point, is I'm not saying you have to sit down with your team or by yourself and come up with a groundbreaking discovery. I'm just saying, try to think outside of what's right in front of you with the problem. One of my favorite activities with solving problems, and I put that in quotes because most oftentimes this is kind of a creative design solving problem. And one of my favorite things to do is to throw out my first couple or my first few ideas. So I'll sit down and say, okay, I need to design this thing or create a thing. I'll say, I'll sketch something out real quick. I'll say, okay, we'll get rid of that. Because it's almost always garbage, right? Even though it seems like the most obvious and straightforward solution, right? So I toss it out, and I'll sketch out something else. Say, okay, it's all right. I think this would work, right? But I toss it out. And eventually, somewhere down the line, and it changes. Sometimes it's the second time. Sometimes it's the 10th time.
Okay.
Somewhere down the line, when I've thrown out all the obvious answers, I'll come up with something. I will have forced myself to create something new, something less obvious, something that I didn't think of right away, and it becomes a better solution, a best solution, because I've actually created something with a little more newness in it at this point. It's a little bit more innovative, if you will. And so this is what I'm talking about when we talk about solving problems with innovation, is to simply say, okay, maybe the most obvious thing, using these three pieces that we've got sitting in front of us, isn't the only way.
Right. And I think what's really important for me when I think about this, and I love why your process of because those are the pathways that we always go to. What comes out first is oftentimes just the routine, what we're pre-programmed for. But we're all creative, and we believe that we were created in a way that makes us creative, and we can take what's around us and bring new. And I think that some people say they're not creative. That study I referenced, where they did this scientific study about people at NASA, and they gave this test. 2% of NASA scientists were found to be a genius level of creativity.
Sure.
They gave it to the general population, again, adults, 2%, genius level creativity. They gave it to 4 and 5-year-olds and found that 4 and 5-year-olds, 98% of them were in the genius level of creativity. And what that teaches us is that it gets beat out of us. Through our educational process or our parents or people that we care about, and we become less creative, but it's still in you. It's still in us.
Absolutely.
And the innovation and the solution you need might be in you or your coworkers together in this next project.
Yeah, absolutely. So believe that there is another option there. That's the first step of innovating, I believe, is actually believing that there's something else to be found.
Yeah.
If you don't think there's anything else out there, you won't find it.
Yeah.
Because you won't honestly look for it.
It's really hard to find things you're not looking for.
It really is. It really is. And it sounds funny, but if you stay conscious of that throughout the problem-solving process, you might find that that's more applicable than it first sounds.
Yeah.
If you're not looking for it, you won't find it.
Yeah.
So really believe that there are other options than what's most obvious, and that's how you're going to create innovative solutions. But don't be afraid of that compromise either. They're going to go hand in hand. So this is this is it. This is the whole structure.
The collaboration, I think, works all the way through the process of understanding the problem and realizing that you're better together, that the creative solution you can get to, I believe, if you're all communicating, there's a collective intelligence involved, that your best solutions are when you tap into all the resources that you have and people around you.
Definitely. So we hope this was helpful for you. Follow this process. Let us know how it works for you, and we'll see you on the other side of your problems.
Yeah.